The Great Hall of the Galactic Council was the largest room Admiral Park Jisoo had ever seen. It stretched for nearly a kilometer in every direction. Floating platforms held representatives from over 200 species. Light came from nowhere and everywhere at once. The ceiling showed the stars themselves, real and burning, visible through transparent metal that humans could not yet make. Jisoo stood at the back of the human section. She wore her navy blue uniform with the silver stars on her collar. A thin scar ran across her jaw, a gift from a pirate who had tried to take her ship 3 years ago. She had killed him with her bare hands. The scar reminded her that survival was never free. Today was the 11th day of the emergency session. 11 days of screaming. 11 days of threats. 11 days of nothing. The Valari High Speaker floated at the center of the chamber. Its body was made of living crystal, beautiful and cold. When it spoke, light rippled through its form like waves in water. The Krath have murdered our people, it said. 3 colony worlds. Burned to ash. We demand justice from this council. Across the vast space, the Krath Primarch rose on its platform. It was a nightmare of black armor and clicking limbs. 8 legs. 4 arms. A head that split open to reveal rows of teeth when it was angry. It was always angry. Your colonies were built on our sacred grounds, the Primarch growled. Its voice came through translators as a deep rumble. You knew the spawning pools were there. You built your cities on the bones of our unborn children. You invited death. The Valari shimmered with rage. Lies. Those worlds were empty when we arrived. Your claims are false. You call us liars? The Primarch slammed 4 of its limbs against its platform. The sound echoed through the hall like thunder. Perhaps we should settle this the old way. Perhaps we should finish what we started. Security barriers flickered to life between the 2 delegations. Blue energy walls that could stop a starship. They were needed. Representatives from both sides were already moving forward, ready to fight. Ambassador Kim Do-won leaned close to Jisoo. He was an older man with gray hair and tired eyes. He had been a diplomat for 40 years. He had seen many wars begin. Same thing as yesterday, he whispered. And the day before. The moderator will not make a decision. The council is too afraid. Jisoo watched the chaos below. Afraid of what? Of choosing a side. The Valari control the eastern trade routes. The Krath hold the mineral-rich systems of the western arm. If the council supports one, they lose the other. So they do nothing. And people die while they do nothing. Yes, Do-won's voice was heavy. That is how it has always been. Jisoo looked through the massive window behind the council floor. Outside, she could see them. Ships. Thousands of ships. The Valari fleet was made of crystal vessels that caught starlight and turned it into weapons. The Krath fleet was alive, ships grown from flesh and bone. Armed with weapons that could eat through metal like acid. Both fleets were waiting, watching. They had been locked in position for 11 days. Held back only by a temporary ceasefire. Small fights had already broken out. Patrol ships destroyed. Transport vessels raided. Each side claimed self-defense. Each side demanded revenge. How many dead so far? Jisoo asked. In the skirmishes? 2 million. Maybe more. Hard to count when entire ships disappear. Do-won rubbed his eyes. When the ceasefire ends, it will be much worse. Both sides have extinction weapons. Planet killers. If this becomes a full war, we are looking at the death of 2 species. Jisoo felt cold. She had seen death before. She had caused death before. But this was something else. This was madness on a scale she could barely understand. How long until the ceasefire ends? 6 hours. 6 hours. Then the killing would truly begin. On the council floor, The moderator tried to restore order. It was a strange being, a cloud of gas and light that could change its shape at will. Old beyond measure, patient beyond reason. But even it seemed tired now. "Please," the moderator said, its voice soft but carried to every ear in the hall. "We must find common ground. We must find peace. There is no peace with murderers." The Valari High Speaker replied, "There is no peace with thieves," the Krath Primarch answered. The shouting began again. Jisoo turned away from the window. She looked at Doan. Has anyone tried to find out why this war started? Not the colonies. Not the spawning grounds. The real reason. The first reason. Doan frowned. What do you mean? Wars do not come from nowhere. Hate this deep does not grow in a single generation. These two species have been fighting for thousands of years. Someone must know how it began. The ambassador shook his head. The records are incomplete. Both sides blame each other for starting the conflict. Both sides claim to be the victim. The truth was lost long ago. Jisoo did not believe that. Truth was never truly lost. It was just buried, hidden, waiting for someone stubborn enough to dig. "I want access to the archives," she said. "Everything we have on Valari and Krath history. Every report. Every study. Every rumor." "That is not our place," Dawan said carefully. "We are observers here. Nothing more. Humanity is a young species. We have no right to interfere in the affairs of elder races. In 6 hours, 2 species will try to destroy each other. Billions will die. And we will watch because it is not our place?" Jisoo shook her head. "No, I will not accept that." She walked toward the exit. Do-hwan called after her. "Admiral, what are you planning?" Jisoo did not answer. She did not know yet. But she would find out. She had 6 hours to stop a war that had been building for 3,000 years. It was not enough time. It would have to be enough. The human delegation had been given a small section of the station to use as their quarters. Compared to the grand halls of the council, it was humble. Simple rooms with simple furniture. But it had what Jisoo needed: computers, archives, access to the galactic network. Lieutenant Yoon-hana was waiting when Jisoo arrived. She was young, barely 25, with sharp eyes and quick hands. She had been Jisoo's aide for 2 years. In that time, she had learned to read her commander's moods. Right now, the admiral was hunting. "I need everything," Jisoo said as she sat down at the main terminal. "Every record we have on the Valari and the Krath, history, culture, religion, trade agreements. I want to know everything about these species." Hannah did not ask why. She simply began pulling files. "Our records are limited. Humanity has only been part of the galactic community for 300 years. Most of what we have comes from other species. Second-hand accounts. Translations of translations. It will have to do." For the next hour, Jisoo read. She read about Valari crystal cities that sang when the wind passed through them. She read about Krath hive minds that shared memories across generations. She read about border disputes and trade wars and diplomatic incidents, stretching back centuries, but she found nothing useful. The same story repeated over and over. The Valari claimed the Krath had attacked first. The Krath claimed the Valari had stolen their land. Both sides had evidence. Both sides had reasons. Both sides were convinced they were right. "This is useless," Jisoo muttered. She pushed back from the terminal and rubbed her tired eyes. "It is all just excuses. Justifications. No one talks about the beginning." Hannah brought her a cup of coffee. Real coffee, from Earth. A small luxury in the vast darkness of space. Maybe there is no beginning. Maybe they have always hated each other. No, Jisoo shook her head firmly. Hate like this does not come from nowhere. It grows from something. A wound, a betrayal. Something that hurt so badly that neither side could forget. She took a sip of coffee. It was bitter and strong. Find me older records. Before the current war. Before the colonial disputes. Go back as far as you can. Hannah returned to her terminal. Her fingers moved quickly across the interface. Minutes passed. Then more minutes. Finally, she made a small sound of surprise. What? Jisoo asked. This is strange. Hannah pulled up a document on the main screen. According to this record, the Valari and Krath were allies once. 3,000 years ago. They fought together in something called the Hollow War. Jisoo leaned forward. Allies? They worked together? More than worked together. They were partners. They shared technology. They shared resources. They even had joint colonies. Hannah scrolled through the document. And then, nothing. The alliance just ends. No explanation. No reason given. One day, they were brothers in arms. The next day, they were enemies. What happened? I do not know. The records stop. Both species refuse to discuss this period. It is like they erased it from their histories. Jisoo felt something stir in her chest. This was it. This was the wound she had been looking for. Something had happened 3,000 years ago. Something so terrible that two allied species had become bitter enemies. Something so shameful that both sides had chosen to forget. Show me a star map, she said. Their territories. 3,000 years ago and now. Hannah brought up the display. The map showed the galaxy in soft blue light. Valari space was marked in gold. Krath space was marked in red. Between them, a strip of contested systems where most of the fighting happened. But there was something else. A single star system, unmarked, unnamed, sitting exactly between Valari and Krath territory like a hole in the map. What is that? Jisoo pointed at the empty space. Why is nothing there? Hannah checked the database. Her face grew confused. It is called the Silence. It is a forbidden zone. Both species have laws against going there. Religious laws. Ancient laws. Anyone who enters is executed. Both species have the same law about the same place? Yes, that is unusual. Unusual was not the right word. It was impossible. These two species agreed on nothing. They had been killing each other for 3,000 years. But they both agreed that this one system was forbidden? They both had the same religious prohibition? There was only one explanation. Something had happened there. Something that both species wanted to forget. Something that connected them in a way they could not admit. Find me stories, Jisoo said. Her voice was quiet but urgent. Myths, legends, children's tales. Anything that mentions the silence. I do not care how old or how strange. I need to know what happened on that world. Hannah worked for another hour. She searched through databases that humans were barely allowed to access. She found fragments of Valari poetry. She found recordings of Krath spawning songs. Most of it meant nothing. Religious symbols. Abstract references. Nothing clear dot, but then she found two things. The first was a Valari light poem. It had been classified as heretical and banned from public display. Hannah had to break 3 levels of security to access it. The poem spoke of a great sin, a moment when the Valari had become monsters. It mentioned a world that was silenced forever. The second was a Krath spawning song. It was only performed once every 100 years in the deepest chambers of their hive worlds. It told of a weapon, a terrible weapon built by 2 peoples working together. A weapon that had ended a war but started an eternal shame. Jisoo read both documents twice, then 3 times. Her hands were shaking when she finished. Lieutenant, she said softly, I think I know what happened. What? Hannah asked. Jisoo looked at the star map. At the empty space called the Silence. At the world that two species had agreed to forget. They did not start hating each other because of land or resources or pride, she said. They started hating each other because of guilt. Because they did something together. Something unforgivable. And for 3,000 years, they have been trying to destroy each other so they do not have to remember what they really are. She stood up. There was no time to waste. She needed proof. She needed evidence that could not be denied. And she needed to get into that council chamber before the ceasefire ended and the killing began. Get me Ambassador Kim, she said. Tell him I need his help. Tell him I know how to end this war. Ambassador Kim Do-won sat across from Jisoo in the small meeting room. His face was pale. His hands trembled slightly as he held the data tablet she had given him. He had read the documents 3 times now. Each time, his expression grew more troubled. This cannot be true, he said finally. If what you are suggesting is correct, it is correct. Jisoo's voice was calm but certain. The evidence is there. Both species tell the same story in different ways. They built a weapon together. They used it on the Silence. And whatever lived there was destroyed completely. But why? What lived there that was worth such destruction? Jisoo had been asking herself the same question. She had spent another hour digging through old records. What she found made her feel sick. The EnThe, she said. That was their name. They were a third species. They lived on the world now called the Silence. They were peaceful, artists, builders. They had no weapons, no military. They wanted nothing but to exist. Do-won looked at her with horror in his eyes. The Valarian Krath killed them? All of them? Yes. During the Hollow War, the Valarian Krath were losing. They were desperate. The EnThe lived on a planet that sat in the middle of the enemy's territory. The two allies decided they needed that world. Not for living, for dying. She pulled up more information on the display. Images reconstructed from fragments. Cities that had been beautiful once. Faces with 4 gentle eyes. A species that had never hurt anyone. They combined their technologies, Jisoo continued. Valari crystal resonance and Krath bioweapons. They created something new. A living bomb that could destroy everything. Not just buildings. Not just bodies. Everything. Down to the smallest cell. The smallest memory. And they used it on the EnThe. The EnThe did not even fight back. They could not. They watched the sky as the weapon fell. 3 billion of them. Gone in seconds. Erased so completely that the galaxy forgot they ever existed. Do-won set down the tablet. His hands were shaking badly now. Why? Why would they do such a thing? Because the enemy fleet was gathered in orbit around the EnThe homeworld. By destroying the planet, the Valari and Krath destroyed the enemy fleet as well. They won the war. They became heroes. Jisoo's voice grew bitter. But they knew what they had done. They knew they had murdered an innocent species to win. And they could not live with that truth. So they turned on each other. Yes, it is easier to hate than to feel shame. If they were fighting each other, they did not have to think about the EnThe. If they kept killing and dying, they could pretend their guilt did not exist. Jisoo shook her head. For 3,000 years, they have been running from what they did together. Every war, every battle, every dead soldier has been a way to avoid looking in the mirror. Do-won was silent for a long moment. When he spoke again, his voice was barely a whisper. What do you want to do with this information? I want to tell them. Both of them. In front of the entire council. The ambassador stared at her. You cannot be serious. If you reveal this secret, both species will be humiliated. Shamed before the entire galaxy. They might unite just to destroy you, or they might finally stop. Jisoo stood up and walked to the window. Outside, the stars burned cold and distant. I have seen what happens when people bury their guilt. It poisons everything. It turns love into hate. It turns allies into enemies. The only cure is truth. The only way forward is to face what you have done. This is not our war, Jisoo. This is not our place. In 3 hours, the ceasefire ends. If we do nothing, billions will die. The Valari and Kroth will destroy each other. And for what? For a lie they have been telling themselves for 3,000 years. She turned to face him. I will not stand by and watch. I cannot. Do-hwan studied her for a long moment. He had known her for 5 years. He had seen her lead ships into battle. He had seen her face death without fear. But he had never seen her like this. There was something in her eyes that went beyond courage. It was conviction, absolute and unshakable. The council will not let you speak, he said finally. Humans have no standing. We are observers. Nothing more. Then get me standing. How? The rules are clear. Only member species can address the council during emergency sessions. Jisoo smiled. It was not a happy smile. It was the smile of someone who had found a weapon. The right of witness. Article 7 of the Founding Charter. Any species may speak if they possess evidence of a crime against sentience. Do-hwan's eyes widened. That law has not been used in 500 years. Then it is time to use it again. He stood up slowly. For a moment, she thought he would refuse. That he would tell her she was mad. That he would walk away and let the galaxy burn. But he did not. I will talk to the moderator, he said. I will call in every favor I have. I will get you on that floor. He paused at the door. But once you start talking, there is no going back. You will be making humanity responsible for whatever happens next. For better or worse. I know. And you still want to do this? Jisoo thought of the faces she had seen in the old records. The four-eyed Nev who had never known war. The children who had watched the sky as death fell toward them. The species that had been erased so completely that even their ghosts were forgotten. Someone has to speak for them, she said. Someone has to say their names. If not us, then who? Do-hwan nodded once. Then he was gone. Jisoo turned back to the window. The stars burned on. Somewhere out there, the fleets waited. In 3 hours, they would begin killing each other again. Unless she could make them remember. Unless she could make them face what they had tried so hard to forget. She gathered her evidence. She prepared her words. And she waited for her chance to change the course of history. The council chamber fell silent when the doors opened. Every eye, every sensor, every awareness turned to watch as Admiral Park Jisoo walked onto the floor. She was alone. No guards, no aides. Just one human woman in a navy blue uniform, walking toward the center of the greatest gathering of power in the known. Galaxy. The Valari High speaker flickered with surprise. Its crystalline form shifted from blue to angry red. What is this? Humans have no right to speak here. Remove this creature at once. The Krath Primarch clicked its teeth together. For once, I agree with the Crystal Singer. This is not the place for primitive newcomers. Security drones began moving toward Jisoo. Their weapons hummed with deadly energy. But she did not slow down. She did not show fear. She simply walked to the speaking platform at the center of the chamber and raised her voice. I invoke the right of witness. Her words echoed through the vast space. Under Article 7 of the Founding Charter of this Council, any species may speak if they possess evidence of a crime against sentience. The moderator swirled with visible confusion. Its gaseous form shifted and changed as it processed her claim. This is unusual. The right of witness has not been invoked in 5 centuries. It has not been needed in 5 centuries, Jisoo replied. It is needed now. The Valari High Speaker moved forward. What crime? What evidence? This is a trick. A delay. The human is wasting our time. Then let me speak, Jisoo said. If I am wasting your time, you will know in minutes. If I am not, she paused. If I am not, then perhaps we can end this war before more innocent lives are lost. The chamber buzzed with whispered conversations. Species debated with species. Allies consulted with allies. The moderator waited, watching, calculating. Finally, it spoke. The right of witness is valid. The human may present her evidence, but she has 3 minutes. No more. After that, the council will decide whether to hear further. 3 minutes. It was not much time. It would have to be enough. Jisoo activated her display. A holographic image appeared above the chamber. A star map. At its center, a single world marked in gray. You call this place the Silence, she said. Both of you, Valari and Krath alike. You have laws that forbid anyone from going there. Religious laws. Ancient laws. Laws so old that most of your people have forgotten why they exist. The Valari High Speaker grew still. The Krath Primarch stopped clicking its teeth. For the first time in 11 days, both delegations were quiet. I wondered why, Jisoo continued. Why would 2 species who agree on nothing have the same law about the same place? What happened there that was so terrible that both of you wanted to forget? She changed the display. Now it showed images. Cities. Beautiful cities with towers that touched the sky. Parks filled with strange flowers. Art carved from stone and light. And faces. Gentle faces with 4 eyes and kind expressions. The Nev, Jisoo said. That was their name. They lived on the world you call the Silence. 3 billion of them. They were artists, builders, dreamers. They had never fought a war. They had never harmed anyone. The Valari High Speaker began to flicker rapidly. Where did you get this information? This is forbiddance. This is true. Jisoo's voice was sharp. And you know it is true. Just as the Primarch knows it is true. Because 3,000 years ago, your ancestors did something that neither of your species can face. Something you have been killing each other to forget. She pulled up new images. Technical diagrams. Weapon specifications. The plans for something terrible. During the Hollow War, your peoples were allies. You were losing. You were desperate. So you combined your technologies. Valari crystal resonance and Krath bioweapons. You created a living bomb. A weapon that could destroy everything it touched. Not just people. Not just buildings. Everything. Down to the smallest particle. The chamber was completely silent now. Representatives from 100 species watched with horror and fascination. You needed a target, Jisoo said. The enemy fleet was gathered in orbit around the Nev homeworld. The Nev had refused to join either side of the war. They wanted only peace. But peace was not useful to you. So you used them. You dropped your weapon on their world. And in seconds, 3 billion innocent lives were erased from existence. The Krath Primarch lunged forward. Security barriers flickered to life, holding it back. Lies, this is human lies. Then explain the Silence. Jisoo turned to face the Primarch directly. Explain why both your species have the same forbidden zone. Explain why both your histories go blank at exactly the same moment 3,000 years ago. Explain why you have been fighting each other ever since. She turned back to the full chamber. Her voice dropped, becoming softer but somehow more powerful. I know why you fight. I know why you have been killing each other for 3 millennia. because you cannot face what you did together. You cannot look at each other without seeing the truth. So you turned your guilt into hate. You turned your shame into war. Every dead Valari soldier, every murdered Krath child has been payment for a debt you can never repay. The Valari High Speaker's light had dimmed almost to nothing. The Krath Primarch had stopped struggling against the barrier. Both delegations stood frozen, unable to speak. The Nev are gone, Jisoo said. You cannot bring them back. Nothing can bring them back. But you can stop adding to the body count. You can stop punishing each other for a sin you both share. She gestured, and the display changed one final time. It showed the world called to silence as it was now. Empty, dead. A monument to forgotten genocide. Build a memorial there. Say the names of the Nev. Grieve together for what you did. Face your truth together, instead of drowning in blood to avoid it. She paused. Or keep killing each other. Keep lying. Keep running. And in another 3,000 years, perhaps there will be no one left to remember any of you either. Her 3 minutes were over. She stepped back from the platform and waited. The chamber remained silent. The moderator floated at the center, watching both delegations. Waiting. Then, slowly, the Valari High Speaker moved forward. Its light was dim and flickering. When it spoke, its voice was barely a whisper. The human speaks truth. The Krath Primarch lowered its head. Its voice was heavy with something Jisoo had never heard from it before. Pain. Real pain. We have hidden for too long. And in that moment, Jisoo knew the war was over. The vote took less than a minute. Every Valari representative voted for peace. Every Krath representative voted for peace. For the first time in 3,000 years, the two species agreed on something. The ceasefire was made permanent. The fleets began to withdraw. The war was over. Jisoo stood at the great window and watched the ships move apart. Crystal vessels and living ships, turning away from each other instead of toward. Behind her, the council chamber buzzed with activity. Representatives spoke in hurried voices. Diplomats rushed to arrange meetings. History was being rewritten in real time. Ambassador Kim Do-won joined her at the window. His face was pale, but there was wonder in his eyes. 3 minutes, he said. You spoke for 3 minutes, and you ended a war that has been burning for 3,000 years. I did not end anything, Jisoo replied. She watched a Valari cruiser pass close to the station. Its crystal hull caught the starlight and turned it into rainbows. Beautiful and deadly, now going home instead of going to war. I just reminded them why it started. The rest was up to them. Still, Do-won shook his head slowly. The other species are talking. All of them. They have never seen anything like this. A junior species walking into the council and solving a problem that the elder races could not solve for millennia. We got lucky. The truth was there, waiting to be found. Anyone could have discovered it. But no one did. No one even looked. Except you. Jisoo did not reply. She was thinking about the Nev. 3 billion people who had never wanted anything but peace. They had been erased so completely that even their ghosts were forgotten. Now, at least, they would be remembered. The council had voted to send a joint expedition to the Silence. Valari and Krath working together for the first time in 3,000 years. They would search for any trace of the Nev civilization. They would build monuments. They would speak the names of the dead. It was not enough. Nothing could ever be enough. But it was a start. Lieutenant Yoon-hana approached with a data tablet. She looked exhausted, but there was a small smile on her face. Admiral, the council moderator is requesting a formal meeting. Tomorrow morning, station time. About what? They want to discuss expanding humanity's role in galactic governance. Hannah glanced at the tablet. There is also a message from the Valari High Speaker. It wishes to thank you personally. And one from the Krath Primarch. It says, She paused, reading. It says you have the heart of a warrior and the wisdom of a hive queen. I think that is a compliment. Do-hwan raised an eyebrow. It seems we have made quite an impression. Jisoo turned from the window. Through the transparent wall, she could see the stars. Billions of them, trillions, each one potentially home to species she had never met. Species with their own histories, their own wars, their own secrets waiting to be uncovered. We have work to do, she said. The Valari and Krath are just the beginning. How many other species are fighting wars they do not understand? How many other secrets are buried beneath layers of hate and fear? You want to find them all? Do-hwan asked. I want to help. Where we can. How we can. Jisoo straightened her uniform. The scar on her jaw caught the light. Humans are good at this. Digging up uncomfortable truths. Facing the dark parts of ourselves. We've had a lot of practice. Your own species has not always handled its dark parts well, Do-hwan pointed out gently. No, we have not. We have made terrible mistakes. We have committed our own crimes. Jisoo met his eyes. But we learned. Slowly. Painfully. We learned that running from the truth only makes it worse. That guilt buried becomes hate. That the only way forward is through. She walked toward the exit. Hannah fell into step beside her. Do-hwan followed. The council meeting tomorrow, Jisoo said. What do they want specifically? They want humans to take a more active role in conflict resolution, Hannah replied. They are calling it the human approach. Find a buried truth. Speak it plainly. Force people to face what they have been running from. It will not always work. No, but sometimes it will. And sometimes is better than never. They walked through the corridors of the station. Other species stepped aside to let them pass. Jisoo noticed the looks they were getting. Not the usual dismissive glances that humans received as a junior species. Something different. Something like respect. One more thing, Hannah said. The Valari and Krath have agreed to let humans join the expedition to the Silence. They want our archaeologists, our historians, our scientists. They say, she checked her tablet again. They say that humans are good at remembering, at making sure the forgotten are not forgotten. Jisoo stopped walking. For a moment, she thought of the Nev again. The four-eyed faces she had seen in the old records. The children who had watched death fall from the sky. They had been gone for 3,000 years. But now they would be remembered. Their names would be spoken. Their story would be told that it was not justice. Justice was impossible when everyone responsible had been dead for millennia. But it was something. It was acknowledgement. It was truth. Tell them yes, she said. We will send our best. They continued walking. The stars burned on outside the station windows. Somewhere out there, the fleets were going home. Soldiers who had expected to die today were calling their families instead. Children who would have been orphaned were safe. A future that had been heading toward extinction was now heading somewhere else, all because one human had asked a simple question. Why? Jisoo did not know what the future held. She did not know if the Valari and Krath would truly find peace, or if they would slide back into hatred. She did not know if humanity's new role would bring good or ill. The galaxy was vast and complicated and full of dangers she could not imagine. But she knew one thing. The truth mattered. Speaking it mattered. Facing the darkness instead of running from it mattered. And as long as humans remembered that, they would have something to offer the stars. She straightened her shoulders and walked on. There was work to do. There was always work to do, but today, that work felt like hope.